Good day from the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside Moscow, where at this hour Russian flight controllers are monitoring the final approach of the Soyuz TMA-20 spacecraft to a docking to the International Space Station to regain a 6-person crew capability aboard the station a little over 2 weeks after 3 of the crew members returned home after the completion of their mission. Everything is proceeding on track. We are less than 10 kilometers now separating the Soyuz TMA-20, with Soyuz commander Dmitry Kondratyev strapped into the center seat of the descent module, the centermost component of the 3-module Soyuz spacecraft. On his left is European Space Agency astronaut Paolo Nespoli, the board engineer, as he was for launch 2 days ago from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. And to Kondratyev's right, Katie Coleman, the NASA astronaut, on her 3rd trip into space, her first flight aboard a Soyuz. We are now less than 40 minutes away from a docking to the Rassvet module. That is the newest of the Russian modules that has mated to the Earth-facing port of the Zarya module, which was the first component of the International Space Station, launched back on November 20th, 1998. Tonight's docking to Rassvet will bring a second Soyuz to the International Space Station. The other Soyuz that is mated currently to the complex is the 24 Soyuz, or the Soyuz TMA-20 spacecraft that carried Station Commander Scott Kelly, along with Alexander Kaleri and Oleg Skripochka, to the International Space Station for a docking back on October 10th.
You can try to change the filters. We are receiving the information very good on VKU display. No issues with that. Well, suit yourself.
And there's a view of the International Space Station from the forward engineering camera on the Soyuz TMA-20. Looking at the complex, it will, of course, come closer and closer upon the final approach of the Soyuz for docking. You can see in the lower left-hand corner the range to docking, now 7.7 kilometers, and the rate of closure, which is about 12 meters per second, at the time of docking that is scheduled at 2:12 p.m. Central Time, 11:12 p.m. Moscow time. The Soyuz will be approaching at a glacial rate of about 1/10 of a meter per second for contact and capture to initiate the retraction of the forward docking probe and the eventual closing of hooks and latches to form a hard mate between the two vehicles. Kondratyev, Nespoli, and Coleman have been riding a flawless Soyuz since its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome at 1:09 a.m. Baikonur time on Thursday morning. They have had several rendezvous burns in the interim, 3 major burns over the course of the last 36 hours to place them on a fine-tuned approach to the International Space Station. Several additional minor thruster maneuvers will be executed over the course of the next 30 minutes to initiate a fly-around that will precisely align the Soyuz vehicle to the Rassvet module at a distance of about 150 meters, where a period of a few minutes of station keeping will initiate. That period of station keeping designed to enable Russian flight controllers here in Korolyov to become comfortable with the precise alignment of the forward docking probe before the automated rendezvous sequence reinitiates the final and terminal approach of the Soyuz for its docking to Rassvet. For Scott Kelly, Alexander Kaleri, and Oleg Skripochka, this is their 70th day in space since their launch in their Soyuz spacecraft from Baikonur back on October 8th, their 68th day on the complex. And again, of course, with the arrival of Kondratyev, Nespoli, and Coleman tonight, with the hatch opening scheduled about 3 hours after docking, the International Space Station will return to a 6-person crew with 3 Russians, 2 Americans, and Paolo Nespoli, the Italian astronaut representing the European Space Agency. Kondratyev, Coleman, and Nespoli will remain aboard the International Space Station until May 16th, when they will undock from the complex and land in this same Soyuz spacecraft that they are in to a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan. Before that, Scott Kelly, Alexander Kaleri, and Oleg Skripochka will be landing in their Soyuz TMA-20 spacecraft, undocking from the Poist module on the zenith or space-facing side of the Zvezda service module on March 16th for their landing. At that time, at the time of undocking, Scott Kelly and his crew members. The International Space Station will become an Expedition 27 crew under the command of Dmitry Kondratyev.
The range rate is not changing. Have you seen that? Yes. After the change. Understood.
In the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, visiting Vehicle Officer Tom Erkenswick reporting to Flight Director Quatziala Barujo that the Soyuz is now just about 5 kilometers away from its docking to the Rassvet module, closing at a rate of 12 meters per second. Barujo in the right-hand portion of your screen is joined on console by spacecraft communicator Hal Getzelman. To his right, Getzelman will be talking to the U.S. crew on board the complex, particularly Scott Kelly, when required during the terminal phase of this approach for docking by the Soyuz TMA-20 and in the hours that will follow. The procedures typical of a Soyuz docking, once the contact and capture is confirmed, the forward docking probe will begin to retract after a few seconds to enable the relative motion between the two vehicles to dampen out against one another at the docking interface between the Soyuz and the Rassvet module docking port itself. Once the docking probe is fully retracted, a hard mate will be confirmed, and then a period of 2 orbits or 3 hours worth of leak checks will commence on either side of the Soyuz-Rassvet docking interface to ensure that we have a tight ship and an airtight seal between the docking interface between the two spacecraft that will lead to the hatch opening that is scheduled just after 5 p.m. Central Time, 2 a.m. Moscow time on Saturday.
I was wondering when you had the pictures downlinked so I could just return the card to normal use.
Apparently we got the images down, but Marshall needs to look at them first.
Наблюдаем разворот для отработки коррекции на СКД. Есть разворот.
Наблюдаем.
Есть выбор ДПО Б, Б1, Б2.
Принято.
Параметры КДУ, норма.
KDU and the norm standard. BNO. The maneuver is in process.
Once again, you're looking at the engineering overlaid view of the Soyuz external camera as the Soyuz approaches the 3-kilometer mark away from its docking port at the Rassvet module, closing at a rate of about 10.5 meters per second. All of the Soyuz systems continue to operate normally as the Soyuz and the International Space Station pass over the South Pacific at an altitude of 224 statute miles. Both craft about to begin a southwest to northeast approach that will carry the two spacecraft across the Andes Mountains.
The prop is 18 kilos.
The automated rendezvous and docking program loaded into the Soyuz computers, currently firing a series of short impulses from the Soyuz thrusters to precisely fine-tune its approach to begin a fly-around maneuver. That is an orientation maneuver to place the Soyuz about 150 meters directly behind its docking port, in this case the Rassvet module. Again, this docking port for tonight's link-up between the Soyuz and the International Space Station is the module that was affixed to the Earth-facing port, the nadir port of the Zarya module back on the STS-132 mission, the flight of Atlantis to the International Space Station this past spring. Once again, the view from the external camera on the Soyuz TMA-20 spacecraft as the International Space Station comes into clearer view. Now just 2 kilometers separating the Soyuz from its home for the next 5 months plus, the Rassvet module. This will bring to 4 once again the number of Russian craft at the station, 2 Soyuz vehicles and 2 Progress vehicles. The Russian unmanned resupply ships, the 39 Progress that arrived back on September 12th, the 40 Progress that arrived on October 30th. And now a view from external cameras on the International Space Station, catching our first glimpse of the Soyuz TMA-20 as it continues its approach for docking. The docking is scheduled about 30 minutes from now. You can see the solar arrays on the Soyuz TMA-20 that unfurled along with the deployment of the forward docking probe just moments after the Soyuz reached its preliminary orbit after its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan early Thursday morning Kazakhstan time, which was Wednesday U.S. time.
Via the TV camera, we also see you. D1, D2, selection copy, selection done, performed.
Once the Soyuz arrives at the International Space Station and leak checks are confirmed to provide the hatch opening and the greetings between the 2 crews that then will become one as Expedition 26 is augmented back to a 6-person crew. Kondratiev, Coleman, and Nespoli, along with their crewmates, face an extremely busy few months ahead with a variety of international vehicles arriving at the International Space Station. An excellent view right now from external cameras on the International Space Station as you look at the Soyuz TMA-20 with its 3 crew members, Kondratiev in the center seat of the descent module. To his left, Paolo Nespoli of the European Space Agency. On Kondratiev's right, NASA's Katie Coleman. The ISS Progress 39 resupply ship, which is currently located at the aft end of the Zvezda service module and has been since mid-September, will undock February 19th to clear that port for the arrival of the European Space Agency's automated transfer vehicle number 2, named the Johannes Kepler, that is scheduled to launch February 15th from the Arianespace launch site in Kourou, French Guiana, and dock to the airport of Zvezda on February 26th.
In the norm and G-load 0.41, 3.7 meters.
The Soyuz less than a kilometer away from its docking to the International Space Station. Both the Soyuz and the ISS approaching the west coast of South America will cross over the Andes Mountains and then over southern Argentina on this particular orbit of the Earth at an altitude of 224 statute miles. Before the automated transfer vehicle arrives to the aft port of the Zvezda service module in February, the Japanese Aerospace and Exploration Agency, JAXA, will be launching their second H-2 transfer vehicle, or the HTV-2 cargo ship called the Konotori, which is the name for White Stork from the Tanegashima Space Center in southern Japan. That launch is scheduled for January 20th. It will be grappled and berthed to the nadir port of the U.S. Harmony module on January 27th, and just 5 days later relocated to the Zenith port of Harmony to provide a clear path for the shuttle Discovery to dock to pressurized mating adapter number 2 on the forward port of Harmony for the joint docked operations associated with the STS-133 mission that is scheduled to launch no earlier than February 3rd from the Kennedy Space Center, and which underwent a tanking test of its external fuel tank earlier today and will be rolled back to the vehicle assembly building next Tuesday for further inspection.
Ragged depot is operational. Is on. Copy.
And now the view once again from the Soyuz cameras, just 600 meters separating it from the Rassvet module, closing at a rate of just over 2 meters per second. The Soyuz, under the controls of Dmitry Kondratiev, who is monitoring this automated rendezvous sequence through the Core's automated rendezvous system, continues a flawless path to its link-up that is scheduled about 26 minutes from now. Well, the Soyuz continues its methodical approach for docking to the International Space Station. Aboard the station in the Zvezda service module, Russian cosmonauts Alexander Kalery and Oleg Skripochka are monitoring their systems. In the unlikely event they would have to activate the Toru, or telerobotically operated system, as a backup to the core system, which so far is operating flawlessly. Station Commander Scott Kelly also monitoring the approach, capturing it from windows in the International Space Station with both video and still cameras.
Depot is on.
And the visiting vehicle officer in Mission Control Houston, Tom Erkenswick, reports that the fly-around has begun as planned. This is about a 6-minute maneuver that will set up the Soyuz about 150 meters directly behind and looking down the barrel of the Rassvet module's docking port.
Varegi MCC Moscow. Varegi MCC Moscow. Go ahead.
You have a view of the Russian Mission Control Center here in Koryovo from a balcony camera. We are handing over communications from one of the satellites on our tracking and data relay satellite system to another. We should regain a television capability momentarily. Everything continues on track for docking about 22 minutes from now as the Soyuz TMA-20 is in its fly-around to precisely align its forward docking probe to the Rassvet module's docking port on the Earth-facing side of the Zarya module.
Not receiving the signal now.
Вас поняли.
Copy, understood.
280-250 метров.
280-250 meters as the range.
Скорость минус 0,77.
Minus 0.77 is the range rate. Copy.
The Soyuz and the International Space Station now passing just to the east of the coast of Argentina, flying from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator at an altitude of 224 statute miles.
We are observing the flight around. The range is 250 meters. Copy, and the range rate about half a meter. Final approach. According to the forecast, it is prediction 0.63. Copy 0.63. We are receiving the signal now.
And we've regained our downlink television capability through the tracking and data relay satellite system. A good view of the International Space Station from the Soyuz, now just 235 meters separating the Soyuz from its home, with a range rate of under 1 meter per second now. Soon we'll initiate a period of station keeping that will last about 8 minutes or so to enable Russian flight controllers to check the Soyuz systems one final time before the automated final approach commences.
Визуально дальность 200.
The visual range is 200. Copy. Range 200 visually.
The flashing beacon that you see at the forward end of the Soyuz and the orbital module portion of the three-compartment Soyuz vehicle is the core's automated rendezvous system that sends navigational data, actually beams it back and forth between a comparable system on the Zvezda service module, providing Soyuz Commander Dmitry Kondratiev with updated information on his distance from the docking port at the Rassvet module, as well as his range rate and rate of closure on his target, which is the Rassvet.
The fly around is proceeding. The range is still 200, and the range rate about 0. Affirmative, about 0. Copy.
And as you can hear, with the range rate dampening out to almost 0, we're just about complete with the fly around, and we'll be initiating a period of station keeping momentarily. Soyuz and the International Space Station now passing to the east of Montevideo, Uruguay, moving from southwest to northeast across the southern Atlantic Ocean, soon to cross the equator.
About 180 is the range. The rate is about 0. Copy.
And confirmation received that the Soyuz is now station keeping at a range of 185 meters directly behind the Rassvet module. This period of station keeping expected to last in the neighborhood of about 9 or 10 minutes before the final approach is initiated for contact and capture.
Ready for the final approach. Copy. Stand by 1. Copy. Now we will be using the docking compartment antenna. Copy, concur. We can see the docking assembly in the center of VSK. Copy, VSK center, and the range about 6.16.
Telemetry being received both here in the Russian Mission Control Center and at the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston at the Johnson Space Center, confirming that the Zvezda service module's CORS automated rendezvous system, the passive side of the CORS system, has been deactivated. The Rassvet module's system through the Zarya module has been activated, a good lock. So the Soyuz now receiving direct CORS automated rendezvous telemetry through Rassvet. You see the docking port of the Rassvet module just to the right of the crosshairs in this engineering overlaid camera on the forward portion of the Soyuz vehicle as we continue this brief period of station keeping to enable Russian flight controllers to check all of the Soyuz systems before the automated approach begins. All of this activity under the monitoring and watchful eye of Soyuz Commander Dmitry Kondratiev, with the board engineer Paolo Nespoli of the European Space Agency seated to his left, and NASA flight engineer Katie Coleman seated to the right of Kondratiev.
Varagi, you will have to select display 43. Copy, understood. You have to select back 44. Copy and back. Varagi, we have time. Please issue the command to turn on the headlights. Yes, S-17 command is being issued. The headlights on. Copy.
A series of commands about to be issued to reinitiate the final approach for docking. All of the Soyuz systems continue to operate in excellent shape.
Varegi, Mission Control Moscow. Go ahead. What do you see on your periscope viewer?
Будем снимать.
We're going to take some pictures before we go into eclipse. Yeah, and go ahead and select the final approach command enabled, but do not send that command yet. Copy. And that command is set to go on your go.
The final command to reinitiate the approach for docking is set to be issued. Everything in good shape. All of the commanding on time for the Soyuz vehicle that will reinitiate its final approach momentarily.
Варяги, mission control.
Включаем.
Go ahead.
Дим, тебе нормально по матовому экрану видно через ОСК?
Dima, can you see things okay on a periscope viewer with the matte screen? Yes, right now it looks good.
Видимость будет гораздо хуже.
Okay, well, when you go into eclipse, the visibility will be impacted drastically with the matte screen. So maybe you can try and remove it.
Вход в тень у нас 23:08.
But we're supposed to go into eclipse at 23:08. So we still have time.
That conversation translated from Russian flight controllers here in Korolyov and Soyuz Commander Dmitry Kondratyev indicating that we will be going into an orbital sunset about 6 minutes from now and momentarily will reinitiate final approach for docking on time. The Soyuz operating in excellent shape, and this view from the Soyuz camera showing the Rassvet module just to the right of the crosshairs of this engineering camera.
Screen without the protective screen on it, if it's not too blurry. Okay, yeah, no, it looks good.
Варяги, СУПа Москвы.
Варяги, mission control Moscow. Go ahead and send the command for initiation of final approach at 23:03.
Выдадим повышение.
Copy. We have your go to send command to initiate final approach at 23:03. Affirmative.
And as you can hear, the Soyuz flight director here in Korolyov giving permission to proceed with final approach. Soyuz will resume its approach for docking seconds from now.
Copy.
And final approach now has been initiated. This should take about 9 minutes, perhaps a minute or so less, we'll see. As you can clearly see against the approaching orbital sunset, the thruster firings on the Soyuz vehicle from multiple thrusters on the various axes of the spacecraft, from the instrumentation and propulsion module at the base of the Soyuz spacecraft, as Kondratyev monitors fuel consumption and all of his systems. The Soyuz now 140 meters away from contact and capture.
Range and give it to us from time to time. We copy. And the range based on visual assessment is 110, 100, and nominal range rate. Copy.
And the Soyuz has just crossed the 100-meter mark, approaching at about half a meter per second. Perfect parameters, and all Soyuz systems operating in excellent shape.
Дальность 80 визуально. Скорость норма.
Visually, the range is 80, and nominal range rate. Copy. Based on your visual assessment, the range is 80.
Дальность 70 визуально.
70 visual range. Nominal range rate. Copy 70 visually, and we have a little over 2 minutes before sunset. Copy.
Наблюдаем устойчивое перекрестие. Кресты собраны.
And the crosshairs are aligned, and we have a good visual on them. Copy.
Soyuz less than 60 meters away, closing at a rate of 0.3 of a meter per second, having just crossed the equator. We are just minutes away from the arrival of Dmitry Kondratiev, Katie Coleman, and Paolo Nespoli at the International Space Station, which will be their home for the next 150 days.
I copy. Ready again.
Визуально дальность 45.
Visual assessment of range is 45, and range rate is nominal. Copy. Please monitor SSVP.
Питание подключено. Наблюдаем ход T.
Sunset.
Как наблюдаете станцию, мишень?
What's your visual on the station and the target? We have a good visual on the target and the station. Copy, Dima.
Dmitry Kondratiev confirming that he has good visibility on the docking target on the Rassvet module. You saw just a moment ago basically the headlight on the Soyuz vehicle to provide additional illumination of that docking target on the Rassvet module.
Okay.
Less than 40 meters separating the Soyuz from Rassvet. The core's antenna should be retracting just a moment or two from now, as planned. And the visiting vehicle officer in Mission Control Houston confirms the retraction of the Soyuz core's antenna, as planned, at a distance of 34 meters. And a good view of the docking port on the Rassvet module.
On the station, thank you. And Moscow, range is 30. Copy.
Дальность 25. Скорость норма.
Range 25.
The Soyuz and the International Space Station just 30 meters apart, crossing the west coast of Africa over Sierra Leone.
Дальность 20. Скорость норма.
Range 20.
Кресты собраны.
Nominal range rate. Crosshairs are aligned. Copy, Dima.
База Air сейчас может немного по крену вас покачать.
And you may be performing a roll maneuver. Copy range 18, Moscow. Range rate nominal. We copy, Dima.
Meters away, the Corps' automated rendezvous system providing the auto correction for the cross-haired triangular-shaped docking target just underneath the docking port. Docking is imminent.
Как там кресты? Все нормально? Мишень хорошо?
Да,
Дима,
кресты собраны, скорость норма. Кресты собраны.
how is everything? The crosshairs are aligned. 6, actually 8 meters range. Now 7.
7 meters away, standing by for contact and capture.
Range 3.
Скорость норма, касание.
Range rate nominal and contact.
На формате 44.
Capture confirmed on display 44.
Docking confirmed at 11:11 p.m. Moscow time, 2:11 p.m. Central Time, over the southwest corner of the Republic of Mali in Western Africa. Docking occurring at an altitude of 224 statute miles. A multinational crew has arrived at the International Space Station in time for the holidays.
Вареги, did course turn off? I'm sorry, Moscow, say again? Yes, course did turn off. Copy.
Ну, если стягивание началось, если погас...
Well, if D9 message is no longer eliminated, which indicates that the probe is extended, and if the hard mate process is in progress, then you can go ahead and perform actions on page 85. Moscow, we copy and go into page 85.
Soyuz Commander Dmitry Kondratiev beginning post-docking on the Soyuz. The relative motion between the two vehicles beginning to dampen out to provide the initiation of the retraction of the forward docking probe that'll form a hard mate between Soyuz and station.
We'll go for that, and report table 13.1. Whenever you're ready, we'll take your first measurement. Copy, and we'll go. And Varegi reporting, RPV-1 is closed. We copy RPV closed.
Первый замер, время 23:13.
At 23:13:20.
Давление бытового отсека 800, давление приборного отсека 844.
The result of the first measurement, the pressure in descent module 815, pressure in the HAB compartment 800, and in instrumentation compartment 844. Copy. Please continue working for the ODF, performing steps with the HEC mode and such. Copy. Working for the ODF.
Подтверждаю.
And confirm.
6. Подтверждаю.
6. Confirm.
10.
810.
Подтверждаю.
Confirm.
Фара. Подтверждаю.
Headlights. Confirm.
Наблюдаем отключение телевидения.
And the TV is off, and we see that, and headlight is off, and we see that as well, Dima. We copy.
With docking having occurred just about 4 minutes ago at 11:11 p.m. Moscow time, 2:11 p.m. Central Time over the southwestern corner of the Republic of Mali in Western Africa. The forward docking probe is in the process of beginning its retraction to form a hard mate between the Soyuz and the Rassvet module docking port, to which Dmitry Kondratiev, Katie Coleman, and Paolo Nespoli arrived to begin their 5 months aboard the International Space Station.
G3 command set to go at 23.
You can see the current configuration now with the docking of the Soyuz to the International Space Station. It was a flawless 2-day trip from launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome to the Rassvet module of the International Space Station. The actual hatch opening to enable the two crews to greet one another, the Kelly Kaleri Skripochka crew to greet the newly arrived Kondratiev, Coleman, and Nespoli crew, is scheduled a little less than 3 hours from now. That is planned for just after 5 p.m. Central Time, 2 a.m. Moscow time on Saturday.